Hey guys, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Alex, and this is actually my brother Joe.
Hey, brother.
Joe, you and I, we had the privilege of growing up around aviation along with our little brother Luke, and that's all thanks to our dad, Steve. He flies full scale for a living, and you specifically took a liking to hot air balloons at a pretty young age.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I've been addicted to hot air ballooning and specifically competition ballooning for really my whole life.
You and our dad, you guys actually had a crazy privilege to go out to Dubai recently.
Yeah, it was the World Air Games in Dubai.
This is like the Olympics of aerial sports.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Basically, if it's a competition that takes place in the air, you're going to see it there. So anything from full-scale balloons, airplanes, gliders, to even RC. They had control line combat. They had 3D helis and planes. I mean, pretty much anything you can imagine. How does the qualifying work? Like, did you have to compete here in the States to qualify to get to this event?
Yeah, so they took 7 Americans, and I got one of those 7 spots based on my national ranking here in the States.
How many pilots competed?
In the balloon competition, there were 70 pilots.
Okay.
And then among the, everybody's got their crew, so maybe 300 people total in the balloon.
Pretty big crew.
Yeah.
So that's quite the spectacle, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a hot air balloon event, but even to see, 2 or 3 balloons in person is pretty impressive. When you get upwards of 50 balloons or 70 or even 100, it's pretty inspiring to see all those things floating through the air. So typically the pilot is not the only one that gets to enjoy the hobby of ballooning. You also need a crew of obviously at least one person that's going to chase after you and help pick up the balloon.
Yeah, because we can't go where, we don't know where we're going. We're going with the winds, so someone's got to come get us in the truck on the retrieve.
Very cool. Now every time I see you, a video of you flying on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, you're always flying a different balloon, and this one that you had at this event was yellow and black, and I noticed that it was a little bit different shape than a lot of the other balloons. It was almost kind of looked like a teardrop or a football.
Yeah, this is the brand new balloon by a company called Zing Aerosports, and the balloons that most of the competition pilots are flying now are called racers, and they're football shaped compared to the teardrop shape, and the football is more aerodynamic when the balloon goes up and down, so we get faster and more stable ascent and descent speeds.
How fast can these things ascend?
1,500 feet a minute, and going down would be maybe a little more.
Did you do any practice flights before the competitions?
Yeah, we had a series of practice flights, and that's kind of just to get used to the area, get used to the weather, also troubleshoot any logistical problems you may have with our rig. This was actually the first time I saw the yellow and black balloon that I flew, so I was getting comfortable with that. And
hadn't even flown it before.
I hadn't even flown it.
That's pretty crazy. Now, one of them, I think it was one of your practice flights. Speaking of conditions and weather, Dubai isn't your typical weather for most pilots anyways, is that correct?
It was actually very good ballooning weather. What made it abnormal was just the location. We flew along the coast, and on a couple of the practice flights specifically, we launched from the Skydive Dubai facility that was right on the coast, and the surface wind was taking us out to sea over the Palm Island, and we were able to dip down into the sea and before jumping up to catch an air current back to land.
How far out did you go before it started blowing you back towards the city?
We were probably no more than 3 or 4 miles.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the practices are done, you're ready for the competition, and you actually have quite an extensive experience in competing. First off, like, how long have you been flying? When did you start flying hot air balloons?
I got my license in 2001.
Okay. How old were you?
I was 16. 16. This is the youngest you can get it.
So, I mean, ballpark, how many competitions do you think you've competed in over the years?
Oh, yeah. Maybe 8 or 10, sometimes more a year, so.
Wow.
A number.
But this one's a pretty big one. This is a little bit different than most.
Yeah, this was this is my first World Air Games. There's only been maybe 4 of them total. This is my first one that I've qualified for. To compete in a balloon, it's a strategy, precision flying type of tasks. So we launch from a point, and the event will set out targets that we need to fly to. But the target is a Fabric X, and then we throw a beanbag at it closer to the center winds. So this competition specifically it seemed the level of competition was very high, and there was one specific target where over half the field delivered their marker to less than a meter from the center of the X.
Wow.
So centimeters separating the entire field. It was amazing. Never seen anything like that.
That's pretty crazy. So we have one of your later flight. I think this is your second competition flight pulled up here. Okay, so this one, where'd you take off from?
We took off from a common launch point. So in ballooning, we either launch together, or we launch it, or we go find our individual launch sites.
Does it have to be a certain distance away from the target?
It has to be a certain distance.
Okay,
This
makes sense.
My strategy here was to kind of hold a higher line to the target, which higher winds are generally more stable. So I'm kind of flying right to it, and then my plan was to kind of dive down into the target through the low wind. So here you can see the lower balloons are moving kind of to the left, and I'm higher, moving a little bit to the right. It's not much, but we're talking about meters here. Centimeters sometimes can make or break your target. Target's coming up just to the right of the roundabout there, and then I'm descending down, catch the lower wind. It kind of pushes me just a little bit to the right.
When you're coming up on a target like this, what's going through your mind? What things are you considering? Obviously, you can't touch the ground, right?
Can't touch the ground, that's a penalty. But you want to get as low as possible so you can be as accurate as possible with your throw.
And some guys will come within inches of the ground and literally just drop their thing right on the center of the X. And you were pretty darn close here, and you also had a really good throw.
Yeah, really good throw. You're timing it because this one we were moving pretty fast. This is fast
like
for
it.
a balloon.
How fast were you going?
15 miles an hour, give or take.
That's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast for a balloon, and so you got to time your throw it ahead of time, because it's gonna, we had to throw it out, and then it's gonna drift into the target. So I fortunately had a good throw. I was able to fly the balloon within my throwing range, had a good throw, and got a good score, and actually won that task. That's the one task I won.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned you were going 15 miles an hour, and I see it looks like you're coming up on a landing here.
Yeah, so the sand in the desert is really loose, so we have to land close to the roads or on the road.
Because the chase vehicle will get stuck.
Can't get to us. And to stop a balloon, there's no brakes. The only brakes we have is to kind of run into the ground. So if we're going 15 miles an hour, we're going to run into the ground at 15 miles an hour. And it's totally fine. The balloon is made of wicker, the basket, so it absorbs some of that impact. And you don't really feel it at all, but you will kind of hit and bounce until the momentum is lost and the air is out of the balloon, and you come to a stop. So that's what we did right after the target.
That's cool. Let's check out your landing. It doesn't look like this is the type of landing that you would want to take passengers on.
No, but at the same time, it would be perfectly fine for passengers. Coming up to land here, I didn't want to miss the road. I didn't want to land on the road because it's kind of more rough, but I started going towards this other balloon, so I had to kind of get on the road, kind of grab the curve there. And
who's that guy? Is that
it was another pilot? No, that was the pilot of the other balloon. Sergey,
so everybody helps each other.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So that looked pretty intense. And now the baskets seem like they take a pretty good beating.
Yeah, baskets took a beating. It got a little dinged up there on the curb, but that's what it's made for. It kind of absorbs some of that shock. And you can see these other guys come in right next to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how fast they actually are going for something that big. That was one of many competition flights. How many competition flights did you do?
That was the second one. We did 4 total flights.
Okay.
And then in each flight, you can have multiple tasks, like we talked about now when there were 2. So we had a total of 9 tasks.
So how'd you do? How'd you fare in the competition?
Overall, I actually didn't do very well to kind of maybe my normal standards. I finished 58 out of 70.
Oh, wow.
The winner was a German, David Strassman. He flew really well all week.
Awesome.
A lot of people flew really well. It was hard to, it was a tough competition.
Yeah. Well, congrats, David.
Yeah, David
Good
did
job.
really well.
So I'd imagine after the competition done, it's probably a load of stress off your shoulders. Everything probably gets a little bit more laid back. Did you guys do any more flying after the competitions?
So the balloons gained a lot of attention in Dubai, both in the WAG and in the city, because we were the only competition that were flying over the city and over the neighborhoods. So everybody kind of participates in a balloon competition. By the end of the week, the World Air Games and the city, they kind of wanted to see more. So the organizer, Mike Howard, got permission for the balloons to launch from the World Islands that Dubai made. Like they made the Palm Island, they have a World Island.
Yeah.
It's 15 miles out to sea. And
oh, wow.
They gave us permission and arranged for us to launch as a final flight from the World Island.
Did you actually fly from the island?
Or I didn't fly. No, about half the balloons flew. It was really windy, obviously, because we're in the middle of the sea.
Yeah.
All afternoon, the winds were not going towards land. They were going kind of parallel to land. And then finally, right around flight window, the winds shifted, and we were given the green light, but the winds were just still ripping across the island. So only about half the balloons flew.
Sure.
it's kind of took all hands to get those balloons off because
Sure.
it was so, when the balloon is windy, it's windy, the balloon kind of rocks back and forth, and it's kind of hard to handle and get into the air. So it took a lot of
Cool.
people to help each other.
So
get in
everyone
the
is
air,
helping
yeah.
each other out. It's pretty cool. Reminds me of Flight Fest.
Yeah.
Overall, you'd say it was a good experience.
Oh, it was an amazing experience. Yeah.
You're gonna do it again
Well, I don't, there's no plan for another balloon event there, but
in Dubai.
in Dubai, yeah.
But the
I
World
do
Air
that.
Games is something that they do every several years, every 3 or 4 years, give
Yeah,
or take.
Give or take, yeah.
Sure.
The world, I think they're trying to promote the World Air Games more. There's talk of it maybe coming to the U.S. in 3 or 4 years. So
Sure,
that would be great.
So this isn't just a Dubai event. This is an event that came to Dubai and Dubai hosted it. Keep an eye out if you're here in the States. There is talk about it maybe being held in the United States, maybe Albuquerque or something like that.
Possibly.
But if you're not in the States, also keep an eye out too, because it could end up somewhere near you. And it obviously looks like a pretty amazing event, whether you're into balloons or really any kind of thing
Anything,
that
yeah.
flies. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. If the viewers wanted to learn more about balloons or get into balloons even more, where can they go to learn more about it, what you do?
Well, I kind of have a blog which is just the competitions that I do. It's called balloonpong.com.
Okay.
So if you're interested in that, you can follow us. But if you're interested in just learning to fly and finding balloons in your area, you can go to the BFA, Balloon Federation of America. I think it's bfa.net, and see what's going on in your area.
And a lot of your videos on Balloon Pong are not only entertaining, but some of them are even educational. You'll
Yeah.
narrate what you're doing and talk about the competition, talk about,
Yeah, we talk about strategy and,
Sure.
and what we were thinking on different tasks to kind of, it's those are very much geared to our fellow pilots and competitors to try to get people talking about it.
That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for your feedback and your comments. You guys wanted to see more full-scale flight, so we brought you some hot air balloons first. We're going to have a lot more coming. Actually, Peter and Josh are on the road right now looking at a couple of real airplanes that they're looking to purchase, and I'm sure you'll see those on the show as well. So,
Maybe this summer we'll get you guys up in a balloon.
oh, that would be awesome. Let us know what you want to see, guys. Keep the feedback coming, and we'll see you next time.